I'd like to start this meeting by appointing Christopher Heather as the Treasurer Pro Tem, and I would like to have this meeting called to order. Chris, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Edsel?
Here.
Mr. Harlow?
Here.
Mr. Heather?
Here.
Mr. Unger?
Here. If you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next item is approval of minutes. Dr.
Yes,
Jackson?
the first meeting is from October 6th. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the minutes as listed.
So moved. Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call for a vote. Motion. The motion carries 4-0. Our next item is additional minutes.
Yes, the next one is from September 30th. So the treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the minutes as listed.
So moved. Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris? Minutes are approved on a 4-0 vote. Next item is special recognition, Dr. Jackson.
Yes, I'd like to turn this over to Mrs. Pauletta Crowley, who will introduce our National Merit semifinalists.
Good evening. We're very pleased tonight to announce a National Merit semifinalist from Northwest High School. Mrs. Smith, if you would like to come up and join me. I would like to explain a little bit about the National Merit competition, and then Mrs. Smith will tell us a little bit about Laura. Laura Phelps, a senior at Northwest High School, was named a 2013 National Merit semifinalist. Laura is among 16,000 semifinalists in the 60th Annual National Merit Scholarship Program. To become a finalist, the semifinalists must submit a detailed scholarship application in which they provide information about their academic record, participation in school and community activities, demonstrated leadership abilities, employment, and honors and awards received. A semifinalist must have an outstanding academic record throughout her high school career, must be endorsed and recommended by a high school official. She must write an essay and earn SAT scores that confirm the student's earlier performance on the qualifying test. Laura will have the opportunity to continue in the competition for 7,600 National Merit Scholarships worth over $33 million next spring. Laura's PSAT score from her junior year qualified her for this honor and puts her in the top 1% of high school students who tested this past year. We congratulate Laura on this outstanding accomplishment. Mrs. Smith?
Good evening. I also want to congratulate Laura, and I have a funny story about when I called her to my office. There's a certain date that you can let students know that they have made it to this round of the competition. So I called her down and I told her all about it. She was really excited, and she said, yeah, I think something came in the mail, but I'm not sure if my mom opened it yet. So I'm like, well, we got to call your mom. We have to tell her this is so exciting. You're in the top 1% of the students who've taken this qualifying test. And she called her mom and said, Mom, I forgot a belt. Can you bring it up to school? You guys are supposed to laugh. Really, she called to tell them that she was National Merit semifinalist. We checked, and in the last 10 years, this is the highest score we've had from any student at Northwest High School. So we're super proud of Laura. She's here with her parents tonight, so I'd like to invite her up and congratulate her. And Laura's very humble, so this is embarrassing for her right now, but.
Okay, on three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Mrs. Smith, if you would join the party. just a good man. Thank you. This time, if I could have Laura and her family in the altar photograph.
Thank you and congratulations. As I said, that's the best part about being on the school board for all of us. Our next item is a legislative update. Mr. Harlow?
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Harlow. Our next is a Student Achievement Liaison Report.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Jenny Bless, who will introduce our speakers for the Access students at White Oak Middle School.
Thank you. Tonight we have a group of students from the Middle School Access Program. They are representing White Oak Middle School, but the program actually was in all three middle schools. Our group that's presenting tonight is just from White Oak Middle School. And I'm going to introduce Nicole Dietrich. She is our gifted coordinator from Hamilton County, and she's going to talk a little bit about the program and then introduce the people who are going to speak tonight.
Is the red light on?
It is. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and members of the board. I am Nicole Dietrich. I am the gifted coordinator here for the district, contracted through Hamilton County Educational Service Center. And the students who are in the Middle School Access Program, who have been in it for several years, are accustomed to doing projects. Previously, in the younger grades, they wrote books and participated in the Young Authors Competition. So we decided this year at the middle school level that we would have them participate in a similar type activity where they could use their gifts to give back to the community in a very meaningful way. So we partnered with Children's Inc., which is a service learning organization in Northern Kentucky, and they came out and worked with our Access teachers and with myself and what a meaningful service learning project looks like. And all of the middle school students started out across the district in the same kinds of experiences. They participated in some research on the issue of homelessness, and then we all came together for a panel discussion with different members across the tri-state area who represented different levels of organizations in terms of homelessness. The students were very well prepared. They asked a lot of really great questions. And then we left it a little open-ended for the teachers to go back and do an actual service learning project, a culminating event with their students. So here tonight is Missy Kolbinski. The students are from White Oak Middle School. All three ladies are sixth graders, and they would like to share with you their favorite parts of the project.
Hi, everybody. I'm Missy Kolbinski, 6th grade Access at White Oak, and these are my nervous students. I just wanted to tell you a little bit, just to introduce the project a little bit. As Nicole said, we started off with some research, which one of these young ladies will talk to you about, and then we went to the panel discussion where the kids learned a lot about the homelessness plight, especially in our Cincinnati area, and what we could do to help. And from there, we at White Oak took a little step further, and we did some literature circles with fiction books to get them to have a different perspective on homelessness, and one of these ladies will talk about that as well. And then finally, for the culminating activity, they wrote their own book. And they wrote a book, either a nonfiction book or a realistic fiction book that contained facts about homelessness, especially in our area. And I'm proud to say that these books will actually be given to one of the people that was on the panel to help them educate the people that they're trying to educate. So let me introduce to you first, this is Rachel Bickett.
There are many parts of our homelessness project. I think the most important one was giving back to our community. Of course, making the books raised awareness, but it doesn't make a difference if nobody does anything. That's why we decided to do a service project. We thought of different ideas. Some kids offered the idea that we go to a soup kitchen. Another recommended that we try to volunteer at the Bethany House for women and children. We finally decided to do a school supplies drive. In doing research, we found school supplies were the most needed for kids experiencing homelessness right here in our own district. If these students can't get a good education, they will not be able to get a good job later in life. We started a school supply drive at White Oak and brought folders, binders, notebooks, pencils, markers, crayons, and other items that would help a child in need right where we live. We also raised awareness for the homelessness by putting up posters all around our school. Not only did we put up posters, but we researched facts about the homeless in our community that we would announce every morning at White Oak. That got people to listen and understand how big of a problem homelessness is. Everybody deserves a second chance. Doing these small things around our school might spread awareness of the homelessness in our community, and others might help as well.
The next person to speak is Micaiah Thacker.
In our class, while working on our homeless project, we read some realistic fiction books that had homelessness in them as one of the themes. These books were brought to us especially to help us with our story writing and research by a friend at the Montfort Heights local library. There were 4 books that we could choose from. We split into groups and read these books over the course of several weeks. We did small activities throughout the reading process as a review of what we had read so far and to help us prepare for our book writing. Mrs. Kolbinski discussed with each group about once a week about what was going on in the story and what we thought were the most important event going on in the novels. We talked as a group about what some things we noticed about the homeless person and made inferences on what we thought would happen next to that person. When everyone was finished with their novels, we did one big project in our group where we put on a fake talk show for the class. In these shows, several characters from our books had a discussion. The characters talked about what was going on in the story all the way until the end of the book, including the ending. Each group was supposed to use the talk show format to tell the entire story in a total of 10 to 15 minutes. This was a great way to learn about the other books that people read to summarize the novels we read. It was hard to come up with questions for the host to ask the characters and both hilarious and interesting to watch the other groups perform. The class also gave feedback on the talk show and asked questions on what was confusing. This was to make the problem of homelessness more real to us and to help us see how homelessness is in our own society. It really helped me to realize that homelessness is in my community and in communities everywhere. This was a wonderful learning experience for both me and my classmates.
And last but not least, Mallory Burke.
As Ms. Kolbinski said, we wrote fiction or realistic fiction books. We had to research our topics and turn in facts, and she would grade them. We then would write our rough draft. After that, we turned it in, and she would go over and write little details that she thought were a little confusing and that we needed to revise. It took a few weeks, but then we finally got to do our final copy. Then the books started to come together. We started the actual illustrations and gluing and typing, and it took forever in our eyes. When the books were finally due, she asked a few of us to keep them over the summer. When she kept them, we had no idea what she was actually going to do with them. She turned them into the panel and they read them, thinking they were great. I thought it was very fun, but it took a lot of hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Did anyone have any comments or questions?
I'd be curious to know, in the Northwest School District, if you're able to tabulate how many homeless children feed into the schools, if we have an exact number on that.
We did not learn of an exact number, but Matt Pining was one of our panelists, and he told us some details about, obviously not particular people, but some details about the plight of homelessness in Northwest Local. And he is the one that suggested that we did the school supply drive, and that's where that idea came from.
Is there any estimate? Are we talking 20 or 80?
Well, and a lot of people, they're experiencing homelessness in the fact that they don't have their own home, but they live with someone else at the time.
Oh, okay.
I cannot remember if he gave us an actual statistic, but it was alarming no matter what the statistic was to realize that that's happening right here where we live. And these guys took it upon themselves to do so. And all of White Oak, they did a drive where they put posters up all over. So all the kids at White Oak donated. And then I know Coleraine Middle did some things, and Pleasant Run Middle did some things as well.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming this evening. Our next item is our Butler Tech update. Mr. Detzel?
Yeah, Dan, just a short one. We had the all boards meeting that a few of you attended. We just had a short meeting afterwards it wasn't anything specific, but other than the bioscience building, all the steel work's done, so they're moving along and plan on having that open August of 2015. What did you guys think of the program that they had?
I liked it. I really liked the culinary students certainly went above and beyond and really had a good presentation. I was impressed by the partnership that they're developing with Westchester Hospital.
Yes, yeah, that was.
And we did have a Coleraine student present, and it was something health related. I'm drawing a blank now.
Yeah.
It was one of the last presentations that we had. It was very good.
And I generally think the last 6 to 7 years that we've been with Butler Tech have been very productive and has improved our programs over what we had
absolutely.
previously. So, and as far as the new building, today's the 20th. We've had 16 days of rain this month, so I'm glad they are continuing to move forward with the construction. So,
yep, they are.
All right, thanks, Mr. Detzel.
Thank you.
Our next report is Power of the Pen, Dr. Jackson.
I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Jenny Blust again, who will introduce our speakers from Coleraine Middle School.
Thank you. This is one of the field trips that was brought to the board last year for approval. It was an overnight field trip for the Power of the Pen state competition. So the district had several students from Coleraine Middle School and from White Oak Middle School that qualified for that state competition. So they're here tonight. The students from Coleraine Middle School are here, and we have a message from the student from White Oak Middle School who wanted to thank you but couldn't be here tonight. So they're going to come up tonight, and Ms. Erin McGee is their teacher, and she's going to introduce the students and let them share their experience at the Power of the Pen.
Good evening, I'm Erin McGee. I'm a teacher and Power of the Pen coach at Coleraine Middle School. I'm here tonight to extend gratitude to the Board of Education for their support of the Power of the Pen program and to celebrate the accomplishments of our Power of the Pen students. Power of the Pen is a competitive writing program for 7th and 8th grade students in the state of Ohio. Students prepare for the competitions through weekly practice sessions, and the tournaments take the kids through a series of competitions against teams of writers from other schools across the state, culminating in the state tournament, which is held each spring at the College of Worcester. At a time in education when it seems that test preparation and data collection have seemingly become our focus, I find it refreshing for the students in Power of the Pen to be able to participate in and enjoy a program which allows for and celebrates originality, creativity, and the freedom of written expression. It is through Power of the Pen that students not only hone their writing skills, but also truly enjoy the opportunity to find themselves and their voice in the words they place on the paper. I have brought with me tonight 2 students from our program, 8th grader Kylie Richardson, who will speak about her experience in the program, and 8th grader Brandon Schultz, one of our state qualifiers from last year's tournament.
Good evening. My name is Kylie Richardson, and I am a student in Power of the Pen at Coleraine Middle School. I think that Power of the Pen is a great opportunity for students to learn to express themselves through the written word. In our weekly Power of the Pen meetings, we learn how to write with greater depth, more descriptive language, and with more passion. It was a good experience for me because I was able to be more creative and become a better writer in the process. I am so glad that Northwest Local School District offers this opportunity. My friend Brandon will now share his experiences as a Power of the Pen state finalist.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Schultz, and I was a state finalist in the Power of the Pen competition. I'd like to share my experiences about that trip. In May of last year, Mrs. McGee and I traveled to the College of Worcester in Worcester, Ohio for the state writing tournament, where I got to meet and write against the best middle school writers in the state of Ohio. Not only was it great to get a day off school for this event, but it was a real treat to get to stay on the college campus and interact with students from all over Ohio who share my passion for writing. In addition, I was able to meet and get an autographed copy of a book by Sharon Draper, who many of you may know as a former Cincinnati school teacher, who is now a very popular author for young adults. This trip further fueled my desire to continue writing, and I hope that this year I will have the opportunity to be successful once again. I would like to thank the Board of Education for making this trip possible, and I want to give a shout out to Miss McGee because she's the bomb.com. Thank you. There was a state finalist from White Oak who couldn't be here tonight, and I'll be reading. She wrote a message to give to the board, and I'll be reading that for her. Dear board members, hi. I just wanted to thank you for paying for the Power of the Pen state competition. Without your help, I wouldn't have been able to go and have the fun that I did have. I became very close to Peyton. We learned so much about each other. It was an experience I'll never forget, and I can't thank you enough. I met so many fun new people who share the same passion as I do. It really means a lot, and I can't thank you enough. Addie Bauer. We celebrate these things.
I don't know if you noticed Brandon's glasses, but it says, I love English.
Oh, jeez.
Now he took them off. Put them back on.
We have our access students from White Oak, and we have our 10 students and their families from Canada, and we have a place at
Congratulations to all of you. And our next item is report from employee organizations. Is there anyone here from a certificated or licensed employee group that would like to speak? Seeing none. Report from a classified employee organization. Seeing no one. Report from school-related organizations. Is there anyone here who would like to speak? I see none. So we'll move on to community comments. I have one card from Rhonda Daniels, and she's a parent in the district and would like to speak about her son and the football team. If you would use the microphone, please.
Good evening. My name is Rhonda Daniels, and a few people know me on the board and in the audience. I've been in the district for about 14 and a half, 15 years. Since my other son, that's a second year in college, was in kindergarten at Houston Elementary. And I'm just telling you some background because I have history with Northwest School District, academically, athletically, across the board when it comes to equality, just the same opportunities, from uniforms to dealing with all kind of things. But I met Mr. Bolin in particular when I was coming up off of homelessness. But I was coming from Coleraine School District. But my son didn't get the opportunity for academic equality until he met Mr. Bolin. So I've had good and bad times with the district, but I'm not satisfied with the equality and the treatment of people and the standards that the school district sets for children, but they don't say adults have to be set to the same standard. The incident I'm talking about, before I get off track, is about the game from LaSalle. The night of the game that they were supposed to go to LaSalle, my son did something. He was left at the school. I didn't find out till later, right before the game started. I had to go back to the school and get my son, then go back to the game because I'm not understanding. What he's telling me isn't making sense to me, And it's like all over the place. He is 17. And he should be communicating a little bit better, but we all have issues that we need to work on. And so when I get there, I'm really not understanding what's going on. Actually, I ran into Miss Pauletta Crawley there before I even talked to the athletic director from Northwest High School. So when this incident happened, it was the week of LaSalle's game. I didn't set up a meeting until that following Thursday. Mr. Pilot and Mr. Coach Mahan and whoever else wanted to come to the meeting couldn't meet to that Thursday. So my son is kicked off the team as of right now. And I feel like it's because I, as a parent, had concerns. And I feel like if I hadn't said anything, then my son wouldn't be punished. But it's like if I say something, then this is how you're going to be treated. And adults, we're not dealing with a whole bunch of children. My son, when all of it happened, we had the meeting that Thursday. We went into the meeting, and I'm like, okay, why did I have to call this meeting? Why didn't anybody call me to tell me why y'all left my son at the school? Why my son didn't get to play in the biggest game of his whole high school career? I'm not understanding what's going on. What is really going on here? And it all boiled down to him and not wearing some yellow socks and him missing 2 hours of practice. But Coach Behind previously stated to me that he wouldn't be held accountable for that. And so when he held him accountable for that, I felt like his integrity was in question. There has been more than one time where Coach Mahan's integrity was in question. And this list right here just shows you where integrity is. If I'm in the education field, if I have a problem with a student, I don't care what it is. If I feel like it's enough for me to reprimand that student, I'm going to let that parent know that night. I'm not going home. I'm not going to let them pile up stuff from last year all the way down to the incident where I bring the meeting to call. He hasn't gotten any write-ups for any of this. But then when I say something right here, less than 24 hours later, after we had the meeting, they gave him an incident and said he was removed from the team. And it's because me. He didn't like me saying anything about it, and I asked him when we went to the meeting, I said, if it was your son, how would you like it if somebody left your son at school? I don't care what he did. If he had did some horrible stuff, I don't like comparing kids to other kids. Well, your son did this. Your son cussed. Well, your son disrespected a teacher and threw a helmet. I don't want to know about that. I want to know about what my son is and how can I assist you to make sure that he does stay on track. And the fact that they didn't allow me to even assist them in any of this, if it was true. If this was true, how dare they bring it up when I called them on the carpet for not being the adult in the situation of what happened at the LaSalle game. And he's a senior. I wish Mr. Farmer was still in here. Miss Crowley, she knows my kids from Colerain Middle. She knows what kind of parent I am. She knows what I will tolerate and what I won't tolerate from anybody as far as anything is across the board. And if I didn't fight for my kids' equality, and I know that this is a good school district, that's the reason why I'm still fighting. I'm not taking them nowhere else because I know, and my son is in school now in his second year on a full ride. It's a testimony that I'm fighting a fight, and I am by myself, but I know that God is coming with me. Even if I don't communicate right or say some things that are not appropriate, I say things that are appropriate, but it might hurt people's feelings. So I rephrase that. I don't say anything that's inappropriate to an adult, but I might say something that might hurt their feelings, because if I feel like I'm in a mode where I'm protecting my family and my children, I'm speaking for them, and that's what I feel like. When the principals or assistants or anybody are saying things that are not true or not standing on the grounds of it, they're protecting their own. They want to protect jobs. They want to protect this. They want to save face, but at the sacrifice of what? The things that they said my son did, it caused discipline. I've been a coach. I've been a teacher. I've been around. I did some things that were not always good. But as a kid, we're supposed to groom them. And we're not supposed to wait until they get a long list and then call them on the carpet for it. We're supposed to make sure that the parent is in the loop so we can resolve these issues and they won't go over into him going to college, him going into different things. And I could have got a petition started. It's so many parents that are upset and not happy with the situation that's going on right now. But I'm a one-person man. Whatever I have a problem with, I've never had a problem coming and addressing it. But I just feel like it's just so unfair the way that my son is being treated. This coach here, he didn't have to. We just gave him our children. Our other coach, he just left us high and dry. They loved him. They gave him his heart. They gave him everything. They gave him everything they had. Then they left. This coach here in particular, he wasn't even there with us for a whole year. He was trying to go and get a job somewhere else. So he holds him up here, but he's not even willing to meet the halfway point. I have another son that's in the 11th grade right now. He should be playing football, but because this man is so disrespectful, he chose to back out of it. He don't even want to do it. They can't say They definitely can't say he got a list of bad behavior. They can't say any of that. That's why I got my son's records to see, is there anything in here that I don't know about? If you're going to be willing to write this up and give this to me, what else is in their record? You know, I'm thinking they okay. If you don't tell me something is wrong with my child, then when do I know? How can I help make adjustments? It's been a whole year. The incidents are being done, and here he is a senior, and it's like right here. He right here. I had to back off. We went to 3 different college tours. When this incident came down, it just crashed everything. It stopped everything. And I don't know how many other parents feel like I do, or even if they feel like, well, it's nothing, you know, we can just, don't worry about it. Yeah, my son, he has more than one opportunity to do something in college because he's a wrestler too. But I feel like if they're going to call him on the carpet, it need to be for the adults as well. And that's my main concern right there. It's just not fair.
Did you go to the building principal and then to the administration?
Well, actually, I was just so upset, and Miss Crawley, she talked to me that night when it happened. I just was so upset about it, you know, like, I just can't believe this happened. And I had to calm down, like, and I didn't even get to talk, you know. I was like, I'm so glad, because it's always, I'm like, it's 2 sides to every story. That's what I said in my mind. So I was trying to give them the opportunity to come to me and tell me their side of the story. Sure. But when it actually was what it was.
What I'll do is, I'm not familiar with the story at all. Perhaps Dr. Jackson has a comment, or he can talk to you after the meeting.
Actually, I talked to Mr. Jackson, and that's what I'm saying. It's after a person has been caught on the carpet for telling lies and the fabrications, and then people who have authority to say, let's have a sit down. Let's have a sit down around the table and figure out where the lies and fabrications are coming from. Instead of doing that, they're saying, oh, I stand behind them. I approve this note. Boom, stamp it right on there. So what is that saying to a lot of students, especially if we're holding them to high standards? You better not do this. You better not do that, because if you do that, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. And for it to not be even across the board through the coaches, through whoever, it's just not fair. It's not equality. And just for it to, the situation where he got put out the team, the 24 hours after we had to meet, and that's why I said I wish I had never did that. But as a parent, this was the first incident that I had ever seen. So as a parent, why would I be like cower in the corner like, oh, that didn't happen. They didn't leave my son at the school. They didn't, you know, my son didn't do anything. Just let the coaches handle him. But that's how they handled him. Okay. So I don't even know how to approach that really.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you bringing this to the board's attention, as it's a student discipline issue. It's to take it any further, it probably wouldn't be proper at a public meeting. But I'll talk to Dr. Jackson about it and see what additional things I can learn.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay. Thank you.
That was the only request we had to address the board. So we'll move on to the next item. The financial reports of the treasurer, Dr. Jackson.
Yes, you have several reports from the treasurer. So the treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the financial reports as listed.
So moved. Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call for a vote. The motion carries 4-0. Our next item is certificated and licensed personnel.
Yes, we have 4 certificated retirements, 2 tutor resignations, 1 procedural tutor resignation, 2 extra duty resignations, and 3 procedural extra duty resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved. Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I would like to mention, for the benefit of those in the audience, these meetings are posted online. I think this was up Friday, and so we've all had a chance to read through this, and we would encourage you to look at our district website sometime on Friday afternoon, and you'll find the whole agenda up for reading. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call for a vote. The motion carries 4-0. Our next item is classified retirements and resignations.
Yes, we have 1 classified resignation and 5 procedural classified substitute resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved. Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris? Motion carries 4-0. Our next item is a fiscal item. Dr. Jackson?
Yes, this is a resolution to adopt a deferred compensation program. This is a tax-free investment option for employees. We currently do not offer it. It's at no cost to the district. However, state law requires that if someone requests it, that you're required to offer it. So the treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the resolution for Ohio Public Employees Deferred Compensation Program as listed.
So moved.
Second?
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris? Motion carries 4-0. Our next item is a certificated licensed personnel item.
This is the contract for the treasurer. So I'll turn it over to you, Dan.
Thank you. I guess it was in August we posted the position to fill a vacancy in our treasurer's office. It was posted through August 25th. We had 11 applicants. We interviewed 5. We called back 2 for second interviews. And I believe we've decided on 1. That would be Amy Wells, who's here with us this evening. So would anyone make a motion to hire Amy?
So moved. Second?
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say a few things about Amy. I don't know if you were going to, Dan, but I just thought
I can't stand a microphone, Chris. So.
Yeah, I know how you are with mics, Dan. The thing that Amy brings to the table is tremendous. Not only 9, 10, 11 years at Bethel Tate, state auditor, former state auditor, and also the first time we've ever had a CPA as our treasurer, which is, she's just as qualified as anybody could be, and also a very lovely personality. And I'm very glad that we were able to come to terms with her, and we welcome you.
Thank you. Is there other discussion?
I would just like to say welcome aboard. You were very impressive during the 2 rounds of interviews, and we're very happy to have you here.
Mr. Detzel?
I'd like to second all those comments, and congratulations.
And Amy, I'm glad to see you here. So the move, it's been motioned and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Chris? And the motion to hire Amy Wells is approved 4-0. Tracy, did you have a little introduction for Mrs. Wells?
Absolutely. Amy Wells was an auditor for the Auditor of State of Ohio from 1996 to 1999 and an audit manager for the Auditor of State of Ohio from 1999 to 2003. Currently, she has been the treasurer, CFO of the Bethel Tate Local School District since January of 2004. Ms. Wells has a BA in Accounting and Management from the University of Cincinnati and is a certified public accountant and certified business manager. Working for the Auditors of State office gave her a strong background in state and federal laws and regulations. She has enjoyed her 11 years at Bethel Tate, finding ways to save tax money by extending resources and assisting the administration and Board of Education in redirecting resources into the classroom. She is looking forward to joining the Northwest Local School District family and working with the Board of Education, Superintendent, Administration, and staff. Please join me in welcoming Amy to our Northwest family.
Hey, Dan, if I can just say one more thing, just so the public knows. Amy, it sounds like you're going to be coming on board January 1st or 2nd, because there was some issue on that.
Well,
so.
we want to give Bethel Tate enough time to find a treasurer replacement, and that would give Amy some time to work with that person as well. So we look forward to a Happy New Year, starting with you being on staff here at Northwest Local School District. Welcome to the large family of people that we have here. I hope it works out fabulously well for you and you enjoy your time here. So thank you. And we'll move on to the next item, which is certificated licensed personnel items. Dr. Jackson.
Yes, we have 1 initial appointment, 1 tutor, 1 salary schedule placement, 5 extra duty contracts, and a resolution to hire 3 non-licensed coaches. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second?
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call for a vote. Motion carries 4-0. Our next item is a classified personnel item, Dr. Jackson.
Yes, we have a resolution to recommend termination of an employee contract. So the attachment is there for the board. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution as listed.
So moved.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call for a vote. The motion carries 4-0. Our next item is another classified personnel item.
Yes, we have 5 classified substitutes and 2 changes in status. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris? Did you, are you locked up?
Yeah. Are you?
No.
Just go over here and try that.
No, I didn't. Can we do it verbal?
Yes, but we'll still need to fix that to move on. Is your vote no or yes?
By chance.
So that motion will carry 4-0, and we're going to have to take a technical timeout for a moment.
Sorry about that. You guys, I clicked it right. Go here. I'm sorry.
Just log back in. We should be okay.
This never happens, Amy. Just maybe once or twice a meeting, but other than that, we'll be fine. Now, we've been using this system for about a year and a half, and it's great because it does preserve everything we do in a format that's easy for anyone to look up. But occasionally you get a little glitch with it, and Chris will certainly be here to
It's all done.
fix the equipment. Okay, the motion carries 4-0. So we'll move on to our next item, a master facility plan update, Dr. Jackson.
Yes, we've had several productive meetings recently, and the next meeting we will have the 2 groups combined to try to come up with some final recommendations to take out to the community to review. So I'll turn it over to the architects from Roth Lesko. We have Dick Crabill and Tony Pottigel, who will kind of give the board an update on where we stand with the process thus far.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Boy, those students, that's a tough act to follow, I'll tell you. I'm Dick Crabill from Roth. Partnership with me tonight is Tony Pottigel from Lesko Associates. And we're here to give you a status update on the master plan. I know that some of you have attended some of the committee meetings. We started off with a combined group and then split into 2 committees. One that I will talk about a little bit briefly is the Facilities Committee, and Tony will give you an update on the Finance Committee. The Facility Committee has met 4 times, and the Finance Committee has met 3 times, and we've had great meetings. There's been a lot of lively back and forth with both groups. And then the next meeting we're going to have on the 29th of October we're going to get back together. We still got a little bit of refinement to do on both sides of the table, and then we will talk to each other about recommendations that we will bring to the board in December. So one of the things we're going to do is go out and go to take some of our things public as well. We'll put a calendar together for all these next steps. Really appreciate the board members, community members, and the staff members who have attended the committee meetings with us. As I said, it's been lively. There's been a lot of interaction. On the facilities, we focused on key factors including costs, location, proximity, the fit to the site. We actually did some, what if we put it here type drawings, proximity to each, to schools, whether you want schools proximate to each other depending on what level they are, and then phasing of construction. We're recommending that we vacate some of the less desirable buildings, actually the ones that are less cost effective to run, and then renovate some of the ones that are in good locations or have other things, attributes that make them good candidates for that, especially where we can reuse appropriate, reuse sites. We might have to tear something down or build beside it. We are fitting things in so that we can save on swing space. So we've come up with 3 options to date. It may get updated one more time. As I said, we're going to meet again. But all 3 plans have to keep and renovate the following buildings. Montfort Heights, of course, that's your newest facility. Houston Pre-K with the conference center in there, the Ed Center, Colerain Elementary, Colerain Middle, and White Oak Middle. Option A1, we're calling, actually, we'll call this just option A, the first of the 3, is really where we are combining or consolidating elementary schools. So in this idea, what we would do is keep and renovate Pleasant Run Middle School, and both high schools would be renovated. Then we would build 3 new elementary schools, vacating Pleasant Run Elementary, Welsh, Taylor, and Weigel, and Struble. And the idea here is to build 3 schools that would be positioned within the district, and I'm kind of waving in the air, but if you imagine a district map, north, center, and south. So that's the first option that we've considered. The second is to consolidate the high schools. We talked about some of the options with that and how to get it done. Some of the plans we considered, looking at both high school sites and what we can do with them. And I'll call it B1 right now. That for talking purposes, that's what we're talking about. It would be a freshman building, and we would repurpose Northwest High School as a freshman building and put an addition on at Colerain High School so that we would have enough space to house grades 10, 11, and 12 at the Colerain High School site. We would also do renovations of the other buildings and have new elementary schools in that plan. Option B2, the third option, also builds a new freshman building, but with a new building on that one, we would repurpose Northwest High School to become a middle school. And then Pleasant Run Middle would become an elementary school. And that option then allows us the possibility of only having to build 2 elementary schools. So there's some things to be examined here. We feel very strongly that we've come up with some ideas that give us very real options in the way that the district moves forward with this plan. There are some things that we really need to tackle in terms of buildings that have to be updated, and there are some very, as I say, very real options on how we go about that. So with that, I will pass the baton over to Tony to talk a little bit about what the Finance Committee has done.
So as Dick has said, we've met 3 times, so I don't know if that means we're more efficient than the Facilities Committee, but Larry's not here, and I will really have a lot to thank Larry. He provided really all the information that the committee asked for, and he did it very timely. So it really moved our work forward pretty quickly, and so we appreciated the time that he's put in. And the committee members worked really hard at coming up with some options. So just some highlights of things that we've taken into consideration on the financial side that you'll be very interested in. One would be, first conversation we had right away was what the debt limitation is going to be for the district, because there is a limit to the dollars that are available to you. And so Larry was able to provide that. And I will say, you'll see in the final report, the committee was very conservative in terms of recommending what's really available. It's not that, we looked at the debt limitation and said, okay, we could borrow up to this at 100%. They really kind of settled in on a number about 80% for a couple of reasons. One is you always need to have some cushion in case of emergencies that you had to go borrow. So if you're at your limit, you're going to put yourself in a bind. And I think in the end, when you look at the cost structures of these projects too, by not adding to all the debt limitations up front, as the debt gets paid off in years ahead, there'll be dollars available down the road to do other parts of this project if you don't do the whole thing up front. And because of the cost, that's probably going to happen. So they were very conservative in their concept of, what's available to you today, what might be available to you 4 or 5 years from now, and how you can take a look at that. So that'll be one piece that'll be part of our conversation. The other thing that Larry provided us was the updated financial forecast, the 5-year forecast. And I guess what struck the committee really well was how well the district has fiscally done regarding their stewardship of the dollars. The forecast is healthy. The operating funds are there. And so when we got into the conversation of, okay, so if you are going to do a bond to get access to the debt limitation, the debt dollars, what's the impact on your operating dollars? Because that will have a factor going forward. So we talked about there's 2 renewal levies coming forward, one in 15, one in 17. What would happen if you took a look at the 15 levy and you did some combination or traded off a bond issue for that? What kind of impact would it have to the bottom line? Where would your operating funds be 3, 4, 5, 6 years out? What would happen if you did a bond issue by itself? So those are the options that we're kind of taking a look at on the impact on the operating funds. I think the conclusion that the group came in is that you will have options. We'll be able to present you some options. And they will be good viable options to the community, and then one will be simply replacing maybe one of the renewals with a bond issue, and actually a lesser amount than maybe you're collecting now. But they were very cautious about what would happen to the operating funds, because you've done such a great job on the operating side. What you don't want to do is cause an issue with the bond issue to impact the operating in a way, and so they're trying to find a way to blend those two things together and meet the needs that are coming out of the facilities committee, which are pretty great. So that's kind of where we've ended as a group in the finance. We're going to come together with the facilities committee. The hard part of the finance group is getting them to focus on the finances and not on the facilities, because they're interested in, they realize that you have a limitation in what you'll be able to spend. And so it'll be interesting when we get the two groups together what those conversations are going to look like. Question?
Well, thank you for your report. There's obviously going to be a balance between what the needs of the district are versus the ability of the community to support it and pay for it. So I'll be very interested to hear your December completion of your study that you're working on.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Do you know what date in December you were planning to present?
I don't know, which, probably whatever be the board, whatever
15th,
board meeting.
December 15th.
December 15th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That'll be
Hopefully.
great.
That's probably going to be our only meeting. Are we going to be on?
Potentially, yeah. We may not on that date, but we may not be ready yet. I mean, it depends on how much time we have to go to the community, what we can bring back.
That's fine.
But if nothing else, it'll be at least an update at that meeting.
Okay, well, that's great. Thank you for the work you're doing, and I look forward to continuing updates.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? No. Jim or Michael or Chris? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That just, that's the master facility plan update, and we'll go on to the next item, which is community comments and questions. Is there anyone here in the audience that has a comment or a question specific to the things that were discussed this evening? Mrs. Galp?
I would just think it'd be nice if Amy could stand up and be able to see what she looks like. Get
her on camera.
People can see who she is, and welcome.
Thank you, Elaine. Does anyone else have any comments or questions on anything that was discussed this evening?
I wanted to ask the architects, when the committee comes together, because I note that two of your suggestions mainly had to do with combining the two high schools. If I'm wrong, correct me, but from what I gathered. And so are we also taking the social effect? I mean, is it part of the committee saying, well, will Colerain people be happy being with Northwest people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Is that being taken in consideration, and is someone speaking on that? Because there's going to be a cause and effect, and for it to be something to sell to the public, obviously the public, we're not just talking about X's and O's here. We're talking about people who are going to have attitudes about tradition, about blue and gold and red, and so that's going to have a cause and effect whether they're going to vote on those bonds or whatever that may come into play. So is that one of the variables you're dealing with?
That's a great point, and the committee has spent a lot of time talking about that. It is one of the reasons that we came up with 3 different options, and the broad and really they are very different. And I think that that's something. What we wanted to do was come up with very real options to present to the board and say, okay, here are ways you can go about to solve this. We know we need to move forward and make our district more efficient and bring it into today's world in terms of educating our students. And so that was one of our goals. And so we will put those together as very real options to present to the board.
I think on those variables, I think you addressed those well, even because I've been at all the presentations. But how are you going to get the, I guess, the emotions or the feelings of the people involved in that's going to be in this one bill? Because 2 of your suggestions are talking about combining, and that would seem like that would be a high probability. And to me personally, I think it would be a good idea. But there will be people would have a different attitude about that. So how are you going to find out what the people are thinking about?
Yes. And we do have community meetings planned for these. We've got 2 of them, and we have not set the date yet, but we're going to go out into the community and present the options to them as well to look at and really seek input in terms of, there's some issues. This is really just in the development stages of this master plan. So there's some issues like, how do you do it? Which ones do you do first? How do you set this up? Because it is a very long-term project, and we do want to have those community meetings as well, because I think your point's well taken, and there was a discussion about that already.
Well, I wish you guys luck.
Thank you. Was there anyone else in the audience that had any comments or questions about anything discussed this evening? And seeing no one else, we'll move on to the next item, which is board member comments. Mr. Detzel?
I don't have any for anything.
Mr. Harlow?
Just wanted to say I enjoyed the Colerain High School Homecoming Parade, and pleased to see we have our Grand Marshal, Greg Mulvaney, in the audience tonight. And it was a great time. A great time was had by all. I didn't mention it last time, but I was in the Northwest Homecoming Parade as well, and that was enjoyable. Saw a lot of people I knew along the way on both routes, and it was just a really good time for everybody.
Thank you, Michael. Mr. Heater?
And the only thing, just jumping back to the master plan and the different ideas that are out there, the only thing, and I know it's maybe not the time to bring it up, but the only thing that kind of hit a nerve with me was if we were to make Northwest High School the freshman high school. I mean, our district goes all the way down to Boomer Road, I-74. And I think we'd have a riot if we had parents having, because there's no bus transportation, to have people who live in Mofford Heights in that area having to drive that dreadful Colerain Avenue corridor to get over to Springdale and then over to Pippin. I don't know if there was another thing I didn't hear about that possibility on another site for the freshman school or building a new one, but that was just the one thing that kind of, I live in Green Township, Montford Heights, and it's a long way out there.
One of the options is to build a separate freshman building.
Okay.
So that was, there was B1 and B2. So one of them was to take the current Northwest High School and convert it to a freshman building. Another option is to build a brand new freshman building, more centrally located.
Okay, I didn't hear. Yeah, if it had been written
That'll-
down,
yeah.
yeah, I could have followed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good point, Chris.
We didn't evaluate the plans, we didn't prioritize them at all, 1 through 3. We really were interested in really fleshing out just ideas. So there wasn't any, in essence, any bad idea, there were just ideas. So it'll be interesting to see when we get out in the community, the responses to those ideas, because we'll have those responses on all 3.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had mentioned this to Andrew earlier. I believe we have meetings scheduled for Monday, December 1st and
Yes.
Monday, December 15th. And due to a conflict that has come up, I would like the board to consider moving the December 1st meeting either to Monday, December 8th or to the Monday immediately before Thanksgiving. And in fact, the December 1st meeting, with Thanksgiving being so late this year, would come after school being closed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, of course. But so I would ask if the board's okay canceling the December 1st meeting, and if we need to have a meeting, having it either on December 8th or whatever that
November 24th.
Monday, November 24th.
Fine.
So at this point, I would just ask that we
Cancel.
cancel the December 1st meeting, and you can evaluate if we need to have a meeting on the
Okay.
24th or the
Okay.
8th. So please note that the December 1st meeting would be, Monday, December 1st meeting would be canceled. And I don't know how that affects our architects that are out there in the audience conversing
be a
between
problem.
each other and not listening to the meeting. I'm just messing with you. We're going to not have a December 1st meeting. So if you plan to come here, it won't be on December 1st. And my only other comment would be, once again, Amy, welcome. We're glad you're here, and I'll need to have you come up here for a moment at the end of the meeting. So we'll move on. And the next item is executive session. Dr. Jackson.
Yes. The board should move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, and dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee official, to conference with an attorney, consider disputes that are subject of pending or imminent court action, and to prepare for, conduct, and review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the motion to move into executive session as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
And of course, Dan.
We do not have any action after we will return to this room to adjourn the meeting, but we will not take any action on the issues we are going to discuss. So I will ask for a vote. And do not shut your computers off, Chris and Peter.
Can I shut the lid?
No. Just leave it as it is. Okay, the motion carries 4-0. So we will adjourn to executive session, and we will return after we complete our discussions and to adjourn the meeting. Yes, that's what I wanted Amy to come up here for.